I am 91 years old. For 40 years, I was an FBI agent. I chased killers. I chased liars. I chased men who did things you would not believe a human being could do. People call me brave. People call me a hero. But I need to tell you something before I go. Evil was never my biggest enemy. Something else was. And I did not see it coming until it was too late. I thought I had time. When you spend your whole life hunting monsters, you start to believe you are untouchable. You believe the danger is always out there, in the dark, in the hands of someone else. You never think the real danger is sitting quietly inside your own home, waiting for you to notice. I did not notice. Not for years. Not until my wife stopped waiting for me to come home for dinner. Not until my son stopped calling to tell me about his day. Not until I looked up one morning and realized my whole life had passed by while I was busy saving other people's lives. I was wrong. I thought the job was the mission. I thought if I caught enough of them, the criminals, the traffickers, the killers, I would have done enough. I would have earned my peace. But peace does not work that way. You cannot trade other people's safety for your own family's love. I learned that the hard way. I learned it when it was already too late to fix it. Let me take you back. 1974, my first week in the field. I was 24 years old, sharp suit, sharper eyes, ready to change the world. My supervisor pulled me aside and said something I never forgot. He said, "Son, this job will give you purpose, and it will take everything else." I laughed. I thought he was being dramatic. I thought I was different. I thought I could handle both, the badge and the family, the mission and the man underneath it. I was wrong about that too. For the next 4 decades, I gave everything I had to that badge. Every stakeout, every case file at midnight, every phone call that pulled me out of a birthday dinner, a school play, an anniversary. Each time, I told myself, just this one case, just this one more year. There was always one more case. There was always one more year. And somewhere in all those one mores, my children grew up without me. My wife grew tired of an empty seat at the table. I was there in the house, but I was not there in the way that mattered. Later never came. I want you to sit with that for a second. Later never came for me. I kept promising myself I would slow down after this case, after that promotion, after retirement. I told myself the people I loved would still be there when I finally looked up. But people do not wait forever. Children grow up, whether you are watching or not. Marriages break quietly, one missed dinner at a time, and one day you turn around, and the people you meant to come back for are already gone. I caught hundreds of dangerous men in my career. I stopped things you will never read about in the news. But I could not stop the slow, quiet damage I was doing to my own family, because I did not even see it as a danger. That is the cruelest part. Evil wears a mask. This enemy did not need one. It looked like hard work. It looked like duty. It looked like doing the right thing. Don't make my mistake. Let me tell you about a case that changed everything, though I did not know it at the time. I was 38 years old. My daughter was 7. She had a dance recital that Saturday. She had asked me 3 times if I would be there. 3 times. I said yes. I meant it every time. That morning my phone rang before sunrise. A kidnapping case had broken open. A child was missing. Hours were ticking, and the team needed every agent they had. I remember standing in my kitchen, still in my pajamas, staring at the phone. My wife was behind me, already knowing the answer before I said it. She did not argue. She never argued. She just nodded and turned back to the stove. That silence hurt more than any shouting ever could have. I went to work. We found that missing child alive, safe, back in her mother's arms by nightfall. It was one of the proudest days of my career. But that same night, I came home to find a small pink recital program sitting on the kitchen table, folded neatly, untouched. My daughter had saved me a seat. I found out later that she looked for me in the audience the entire time she was on that stage. She kept looking, even after the lights came up. I told myself it was worth it. I told myself that somewhere out there, another family got to keep their daughter because of the choice I made that morning. And that was true. But it did not change the look on my own daughter's face when she came home that night. and did not run to hug me the way she used to. This became the pattern of my life. Somebody else's family got saved. My own family quietly paid the price. Nobody ever put it that way out loud. Nobody ever said, your career is costing you your children. It just happened, slowly, case by case, missed dinner by missed dinner, until one day I looked at my son and realized I did not know his favorite song, his best friend's name, or what he wanted to be when he grew up. I knew everything about strangers' lives. I knew almost nothing about my own son's. My wife tried to tell me. She would say things like, the kids miss you, or you're always somewhere else, even when you're home. I would nod. I would promise to do better. And then the phone would ring again, and I would grab my coat and I would walk out the door one more time. I convinced myself this was temporary. I convinced myself that once I made it to a certain rank, once I closed a certain case, things would slow down. They never did. There is always another case. There is always another reason. Looking back now, I can see the cracks that were forming, even in the years that looked successful from the outside. Awards on my wall, commendations from the bureau, a reputation as one of the best agents in my division. But at home, there was distance growing in the space where closeness used to be. My wife's eyes held a tiredness that had nothing to do with sleep. My children stopped asking if I would be there because they already expected the answer. I thought I had time to fix it later. I thought there would be a right moment to sit my kids down and make up for the years I had missed. I thought love could just wait quietly on a shelf until I was ready to come back for it. I was wrong. The turning point came on a Tuesday. I remember the date because it was the day everything I believed about my life broke apart in my hands. I was 52. My son was in college by then, far away, and we spoke maybe once a month. My daughter was married with a baby of her own, living 2 states over. My wife and I were still in the same house, but some nights we passed each other in the hallway, like 2 strangers who happened to share an address. I did not see any of this as a crisis. I told myself this was just what happens when kids grow up. I told myself distance was normal. Then my wife got sick. It started small. Fatigue. A cough that would not go away. I told her to see a doctor, but I was in the middle of a case, so I did not go with her to the appointment. I told myself I would go to the next one. There was always a next one that I missed. By the time I finally sat in that doctor's office with her, the news was already bad. Very bad. The kind of bad that rearranges your whole understanding of time. I remember sitting in that small room holding a hand, and for the first time in 30 years, my mind was not on a case file. It was not on a suspect or a deadline or the bureau. It was only on her. And in that moment, something inside me broke open. I realized I did not actually know this woman the way I should have after 3 decades of marriage. I knew her schedule. I did not know her fears. I knew her routines. I did not know her dreams. I had been living next to her, not with her. She passed away 8 months later. In those 8 months, I did something I had never done in my whole career. I took a leave of absence. I sat by her bed every single day. We talked more in those final months than we had in the previous 10 years combined. She told me things I never knew, how lonely she had felt during my early years in the bureau, how she used to cry quietly some nights so the kids would not hear, how she had made peace long ago with being second place in my life. She said it without anger. That was the hardest part. She said it with a tired kind of acceptance, like a woman who had stopped expecting anything different a long time ago. I asked her why she never left. She looked at me and said, I love the man underneath the badge. I just wished he came out more often. That sentence has lived in my chest every single day since. After she was gone, I sat alone in that house, surrounded by 30 years of case files, commendations and medals. None of it felt like anything. I picked up a photo of my children when they were small, and I could not remember the last time I had truly looked at them, really looked, without my mind already halfway out the door to the next case. That was the moment the truth hit me, all at once, like a wave I could not brace for. I had spent my whole life fighting evil out in the world, but the real enemy had been living inside my own choices the entire time. It was not a criminal. It was not a case. It was time, quietly slipping away while I was too busy to notice, and I was the one who let it happen. Here is the truth I did not understand until it was too late. I believed For most of my life, that being needed was the same thing as being important. I believe that if the world called and I answered, that made me a good man. That made me worthy. I built my entire identity around being the one who shows up for strangers. And somewhere in that belief, I lost sight of something much simpler and much more important. The people closest to you do not need a hero. They need you. This is the false belief so many of us carry without ever saying it out loud. We think love can be paid later, once we have accomplished enough, once we have earned enough, once we have proven enough. We think the people who love us will simply wait in a drawer, unchanged, until we are finally ready to open it. But people are not drawers. They are living things. They grow, they ache, they wonder, and if you are absent long enough, they eventually stop reaching for you, not out of anger, but out of exhaustion. The job will always tell you it is urgent. The case will always tell you it cannot wait. The email, the meeting, the deadline, the emergency, they all wear the same mask of urgency. But your daughter's recital happens once. Your son's childhood happens once. Your wife's hand, warm in yours on an ordinary evening, only happens so many times before one of those evenings is the last one, and you do not get to know which one it was until it has already passed. I thought success was the number of cases I closed. I thought success was the commendations on my wall. I was wrong. Success was never in the badge. It was in the small, quiet moments I kept trading away. Bedtime stories, breakfast conversations, Sunday afternoons, with nothing to do but be together. Those moments do not announce themselves as important. They do not feel urgent. That is exactly why we let them go. And that is exactly why, in the end, they are the only ones that matter. I thought I had time. I say that phrase again because I need you to really hear it. Time feels infinite when you are young and busy and needed. It feels like a resource so large, you could never run out. And then one day, without warning, you do. You run out, or the people around you run out, and no rank, no reputation, no medal can buy back a single missed year. I was wrong. I was wrong to believe duty could replace presence. I was wrong to believe that loving people from a distance was enough, as long as the distance was for a good reason. I was wrong to believe later would always come, that there would always be one more Saturday, one more birthday, one more quiet evening to make up for all the ones I had missed. Later never came for my wife. Later never came for the years my children needed their father the most. I found the truth only after I had already spent the currency I could never get back. This is not just a lesson about being an FBI agent. This is a lesson about being human. Whatever chases you, your job, your ambition, your fear of not being enough, it will always promise you that later is coming. It lies. Later is never guaranteed. The only time you actually have is the time in front of you right now. So let me speak to you directly now, because this is the only reason I am telling you any of this. If you are young, and you think you have decades ahead of you to make things right with the people you love, you do not know that. Nobody does. If you are in the middle of your life, chasing a promotion, a paycheck, a version of success you think will finally make you feel like enough, stop for a moment and look at who is sitting at your table tonight. Really look at them. Because one day, without any warning at all, that seat will be empty, and no case you ever closed will fill it back up. I am 91 years old now. I live alone in a quiet house that used to be full of noise, full of my wife humming in the kitchen, my children arguing over the television, footsteps running down the hallway. Now there is only silence, and in that silence I hear every missed dinner, every skipped recital, every not tonight I have work that I ever said. I would trade every medal I ever earned for one more ordinary Tuesday with my family. The kind of Tuesday I did not even notice was precious while I was living it. I am not telling you this so you feel sorry for me. I am telling you this because you still have time. Not endless time, not guaranteed time, but time right now, today, that I no longer have with the people I lost. Use it. Do not wait for the emergency to pass, the case to close, the busy season to end. There is always going to be a reason to wait. There is never going to be a guarantee that later will come. Call your mother. Sit through your kid's boring recital and mean it. Put the phone down at dinner. Say the things you are afraid to say. while the person on the other end can still hear you say them. Do not let the noise of the world convince you that your family can wait, because the world will always be loud, and love only asks for your quiet attention, given while it still counts. I fought evil for 40 years. I put dangerous men behind bars. I saved strangers I will never see again. But I could not save the years I lost with the people I loved most, because I never saw them as something I needed to fight for. I thought they would simply always be there. Don't make my mistake. Later never came for me. Do not let it be too late for you.